Yeah, it was fun.
Time to get.
I left straight away, so.
I like them. You have a call messenger on WhatsApp.
Just to call myself once I don't say what it was.
I'm gonna be honest with you. Facebook Messenger is not my friend. Just call me or text
I
me.
lost the number out to get it again, that's why.
Okay.
Only if I'm slowing something.
Oh, yeah, that's where people are buying these days. Craigslist is over.
Just for you.
Time to get rid of a few things, huh?
Yeah, well, the tiller, but I'm learning. Yep.
You know when you're ready, now. Start recording.
Okay. Wow.
Oh, gosh.
Oh,
That's
Easier
not-
to carry.
Yeah.
That's if we don't renew your contract. or take
Yeah.
it out.
Hand it over and walk out.
Easier than on my computer.
That is
Alright.
spiritual.
Sure.
Recording in progress.
Good evening, I'll call the meeting to order. This is City Council, Monday, May 13th, 5 p.m.
Roll call, please.
Darren Miller. Here. Tracy Snyder.
Here.
Jennifer Mazias.
Here.
Tom Nymus.
Here.
Dave Anderson. Here. John Hopkins.
Here.
Jared Trumbo.
Here.
All present, the quorum is met.
Excellent, thank you. Next, pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, our next item is approval of minutes from April 8th and 16th, and board of review from April 29th.
I'll make a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll second
Motion by Tom, seconded by Tracy. Any questions, comments, or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, monthly expenditures.
I'll make a motion to approve the monthly expenditures as presented.
Motion by Tom, second by Jared. Roll call, please.
Dave Anderson.
Yes.
Tom Nymus.
monthly expenditures are approved. Next item is public comment. And also just a reminder for everyone to pull their microphone. Council, and as well, if anyone from the public come forward for public comment, if you could make sure that you speak right into the microphone and state your name and address, and also write that down on the piece of paper that should be up at the podium. So, who would like to come forward first? I see Kelly Westland. So good. Hi, folks. Oh, is that on? I think so. You said really talking right into it.
Okay, so I'm right into it.
Yeah.
I wanted to take the opportunity to give a quick update on a couple of housing-related things of interest. Group is likely that those have sent out award letters to developers who received low-income housing tax credits related to their proposals, and Scenario Solutions was one of those winning recipients in this latest round, which means that the 40-unit development here in Washburn is in a very, very to move forward. We've already received a $1 million congressional earmark associated with that project, and the low-income housing tax credits that they applied for were $1,137,999 each year for 10 years. Sell for the full amount, so what that translates to is essentially something in the neighborhood of $9 million for that project. So this is really, really good news. Stay tuned for additional information. They're currently pursuing a couple of other sources of funding and hope to proceed with things like soil boring yet this year. So this construction could potentially start as early as spring. So wow, great news there. Congratulations. I know that this is a long time coming. The second thing that I wanted to let you know is that the county has allocated funding for a temporary position to hire a person over the summer that is going to help raise awareness of existing opportunities for homeowners to be able to access zero interest money to make improvements to their residences. So that work will be underway, hopefully hiring somebody the first week of June. And then the last thing, I just wanted to make you all aware of some work that's been going on related to affordable housing in both Ashland and Bayfield counties. We've been for the last year working to build a nonprofit organization called the Community Land Trust. It's a model that's proven very successful in lots of other places. We've already gotten $150,000 from WIDA to help stand up the organization and to pay staff for the first year, and received another grant from Minnesota Housing Partnership to help really build out a lot of that infrastructure in the coming days. And if there's an opportunity in the near future where you folks have time in the agenda for a good overview of what that looks like and what it means for the city, I'm happy to come back and do that. So please, let me know if that's something of interest for a future meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. Yay! Thank you for all your work on that. That would be very good news. Yay! Most excellent. That's a tough act to follow, but is anyone else here to give public comment?
Okay, most of you know who I am, Nick Saminsky. I'm an 845 County C in Washburn. I guess my comment here is going to be on what's coming up on tab 9 in your packets. A letter was written and signed by me and Ariana from the city of Washburn here in regards to tab 9. So I know you'll get to it. There are 5 new EMRs which are pretty much ready to go for the Washburn ambulance, which should be starting here very soon. And obviously what's coming up is pretty important in regards to a issue. There was the letter that I had given Scott that I think he distributed out to all of you. If you have not seen that, I'm sure there's one floating around if you haven't read it. I think it's pretty descriptive in it with examples for what this is all about. Obviously, this issue is different for us because we're city employees compared to the other 3. So there needs to be further discussion that can be done. Otherwise, like I said, I just hope that everybody read the letter. Thank you.
Thank you. Will you be staying for the meeting then?
Yes.
Okay.
Kelsey Lindsay, 936 Buckley Road in Washburn. I am here to speak to the open container issue for Brownstone Days coming up. I know that it was suggested that we not have open container due to all of the construction going on. But I was hoping to ask you to consider opening it up for the east side of town that isn't under construction. I mean, heaven knows that when construction's on that side of town, the west end is gonna want it to be dropped for Brownstone Days too. I know that there's a lot of stuff being planned for Legion Park and a lot of events going on, down there that weekend, and I think it would be really a good benefit to not only the businesses, but, I mean, the citizens who like to walk around here. So that is my hope, that somewhere you draw the line down there so that we can have some open container during that populated weekend.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else here for public comment? Anyone else? Last call? Okay. Seeing none, nobody's online who wants to give public comment that you can tell? One has their hand raised or anything? Okay. Then we will move on to mayoral announcements, proclamations, and appointments. The only announcement I have, other than just another shout out to all the folks who have worked on the senior housing project to get that moved forward. It's been a great partnership working with the county on that. And Senior has been just tremendous with their efforts to make this a successful application, and really excited about that. I think Kelly had to leave to go to another meeting, but I think she mentioned that there might be even some sort of like groundbreaking / celebration this summer potentially. And, you know, just questions answered and that sort of thing. So stay tuned for more information on that. The other thing is that I don't know if it's been announced at all publicly yet, but we do have a new website in the works. We have switched over to a .gov to be more secure. And so all of our email addresses have changed, as well as the website address itself. We are not yet, I don't think, redirecting from the old site to the new site. Both are happening at the same time simultaneously. So forgive us while we are ironing that process out. But in the meanwhile, if you do want to go check it out, it is cityofwashburnwi.gov. So feel free to take a peek there and take a look around. And that is where you are going to be able to find the proclamations. I am not going to take the time to read through each of the proclamations because this is a month when we have a lot of them. But I do want to mention the proclamations, except do I have to read through the one? Yeah, I have one that I need to read through. I did read the historical preservation proclamation already at a special event at the Cultural Center on a very windy day. So that one was a public reading of a proclamation, but I'm going to go through these, and I do have one more to read tonight so that we can be official in one of the requirements for the WIDA credits. So, Community Development Block Grant, sorry. So the first is National Skilled Nursing Care Week, which is May 12th through the 18th. So this week, as Skilled Nursing Care Week, we have National Police Week, also this week. We have EMS Week, which is next week, May 19th through the 25th. Emergency Medical Services Week. Historic Preservation Month And if you don't know, there is a walking tour of buildings, and we have brochures up on the counter there if anyone cares to come in and grab one, and it tells you a little bit about each building and where they are. I have not yet made my QR codes, because I went out of town. But hopefully I'll have QR codes that we can put at each location, so if you don't have a brochure and you show up at the number on the orange plate and you wonder what it is, you can just scan the QR code, so look for those coming up shortly. Fair Housing Awareness Month proclamation is the one that I will now read. So this is to designate May 2024 as Fair Housing Awareness Month. Whereas it is illegal to sell, purchase, rent, or lease, or deny to or withhold any housing accommodation from a person because of their race, color, religion, ancestry, national origin, handicap, marital status, sexual preference, sex, age, or place of birth. And whereas it is illegal to take a host of other actions against people who seek housing in the city of Washburn and elsewhere. And whereas the mayor, council, and staff value the importance of fair housing laws and ordinances within the city of Washburn to help make it a just and fair community in which to live. And whereas the city of Washburn has a fair housing ordinance that needs to be followed by all within the city. Therefore, I, Mary D. Motev, Mayor of the City of Washburn, do hereby proclaim May 2024 as Fair Housing Awareness Month in Washburn and call upon the people of Washburn, especially renters, landlords, realtors, financiers, and others involved in the housing market to review and be aware of the city's fair housing ordinance. Furthermore, I ask all citizens to be vigilant in observing or reporting any potential violations of fair housing laws. So that is it for the official proclamations. If anyone ever wants a proclamation made and wants to hold a private reading of a proclamation, please let me know. I'm happy to do that anytime that I'm able. With that, we had a couple more citizen appointments that I would like the council to consider. I have confirmations from Les Aldrich that he would like to continue on for one more term on the Library Board of Trustees. He informed me he's been on that for 20 years. So thank you to Les for his service. We also have Nick Malczewski and Nick Saminsky serving on Plan Commission, who have agreed to stay on for another term. And Nick again on the Harbor Commission, along with Matt Kroll, who has agreed to stay on. And that is it for right now. So if anyone would care to make a motion to approve those appointments, I have a few more to continue to follow up on that we'll have to address at a future time.
Second.
Okay, motion by Dave, second by Tom. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next item is discussion and action on resolution 24-007, providing for the issuance, sale, and delivery of $3,135,000 general obligation promissory notes, Series 2024A of the City of Washburn, Wisconsin, establishing the terms and conditions therefore, directing their execution and delivery, creating a debt service account therefore, and awarding the sale thereof. That is tab 2 of your packet. And actually, we have some updated documents also that everyone should have gotten in your mailbox. Yes. Or were they here on the table?
They're on the table.
Do you have something you'd like to say?
Sure. So with this, you have the materials in front of you. Josh Lowe from Ellers, our financial advisor, is here to walk you through the bid results from today.
Welcome to Washburn, Josh. I hear this is your first time to town.
First time town.
Hopefully it won't be the last.
Hopefully it won't be.
Bring all your friends.
Great. So again, my name is Josh Lowe from Ellers. I think a couple of weeks ago, my coworker Sean Lentz presented to you the pre-sale report, and you all passed the initial resolutions, which kicked us off for this issuance of general obligation promissory notes. So for the last couple of weeks, our office has been working furiously with Scott to make sure that our preliminary official statement, which is our offering document that goes out to the market, so they can have a full understanding of what you're trying to achieve. It goes into that document. It's probably a 40 or 50 page document. It really describes the project itself, your sources of financing, the city's economy, has copies of your financial statements in there. Really, this is the document that goes out to the investment community so they can understand what kind of credit you are and what kind of interest rates they can offer, right? So Washburn's positioned very well for these kinds of financing. So I'm here to also be able to give you good news today. It seems like I did good news, so that's very helpful. So I can actually point you to the first page of our sale day report now. And this is really just a quick summary of just like the major statistics that go towards the deal. The most important thing that I actually want to show you from this one, I'll actually give you just a quick second to look at the inside cover page here. There's just like a lot of high-level information. Good to just absorb. I'll just give you a second, and then you can ask me any additional questions probably after the presentation. Great. So the first thing I actually wanted to draw your attention to is actually the back page. And this is the most important thing, because this is going to show the actual debt service schedule of what you're actually going to commit to paying in the future. Okay. Sorry, the type is a little bit small. I think something that crosswise on the PDF, which should have gone, taken up landscape, make it slightly bigger. But I'm used to working in very small numbers, so that's probably something I need to focus on in the future. The most important things here is the first year. We're going to look at this column in purple kind of towards the middle. The payments that will be due in 2025 for this set of financing for these notes is $324,938. The columns to the right of that are what is attributable for each of the projects that you're going to see financing for through this issue. So starting with the parks, streets, the fire, there's going to be the city portion, and then the portion that is going to be provided to by the towns, or owed by the town, I should say. To the right of that is storm, and then the city hall and public works projects, right? So from years 2025 to 2044, this is what you're committing to repaying to investors tonight if you adopt this resolution. So that's really the most important thing, the most critical takeaway for tonight. The next thing that I want to draw your attention to is a box sort of towards the bottom for interest rates, okay? So the numbers that you see there, true interest costs, what that really is a blend of all the rates for the next 20 years, thinking about the time value of money and kind of making that a blended average. So you can see, because each year has its own coupon rate. So for example, in 2025, it's going to be 5%, but by the time you get out to year 2044, it's 4% what you're paying on your debt. So when you blend that all together and then the premium you receive, the overall rate is just above 4%. And you can see just to the right of that, the rate that we use to base our pre-sale projections on, kind of what we use for planning purposes, was 4.6. Thank you. I have to bring it closer to my face so I can read it. 4.6%. So even when we came to you about a month ago, we baked in about 50 basis points or 0.5 percentage points higher than what the market was there. So since there's an even greater gap than that, that means the market actually moved in your favor over the last couple of weeks. So that's why it's really great news. And anytime I'm able to deliver news that's better than pre-sale, that's always good. If it's even better than the cushion that we included in pre-sale, it's even better, right? So you really happen to hit really great timing over the last month or so. I think as we went back to pre-sale, we kind of see things starting to inch up a little bit. And then over the last couple of weeks, it went up. And then over the last 2 weeks, it went back down. So we're in a really great shape for approval tonight. Really good time on that today. Any questions on the debt service schedule so far?
Quick question on the underwriter's discount.
Yep.
How is that figured? Is that just based on all of that information in the packet?
Pretty much, yeah. So this is something that the underwriters, who are essentially the middlemen, kind of charge as their profit. I know that's not like a great thing to have to hear, but that's how all these securities issues work, because individual investors don't know how to find the city of Washburn's debt specifically. So what we do is actually you sell debt to underwriters, they purchase it, then they have customers that they interact with to buy that kind of municipal debt. And that's how folks like us, just regular people, can invest in municipal debt. We don't usually go to the city of Washburn or Minneapolis or Chicago to find them specifically on these issues. It's all part of the intermediaries who work in the market.
Thank you.
So speaking of underwriters, it's a great segue to my next page, and I want to show you the bid tab here, bid tabulation. So you got 4 bidders on your debt, which is nice for a city the size of Washburn. I feel like these days, getting 4 for this kind of transaction is pretty reasonable. And so you can see, Baird was your winning bidder. They're out of Milwaukee. Every other firm underneath here are part of their syndicate. So other people, underwriters that they work with to purchase your bonds to actually sell them to their customers. So like I described a second ago. So they had the lowest rate, 4.04569. And then you can flip to the next page to see Bernardi, BOK Financial Securities, and Northland. These are kind of our greatest hits. We work with these guys very frequently on all of our issues. We know them very well. So we see that pretty consistently. And you can see the true interest rate that they offered was Baird at 404, Bernardi 407, and Northland at 425, which you can see there's a pretty tight spread, right? So it's not like you had one that completely way outdid everyone else. The market's pretty transparent, so everyone's reacting to the same kind of data the Federal Reserve releases, other recent bond issues. So it's pretty well clustered. So that's how we know that this came together pretty well. It's pretty competitive for your debt. Those are all nice indications that the package that we put together in the official statement, and we're reacting positively to that. Okay, so it's not like there was one very high bid, which would indicate that someone thought that Washburn was not a very good credit, so they just kind of threw their name in the ring to see stuff. Everyone was very fiercely competitive trying to get your debt. Okay. All right, back to the front page now. Back to the summary sheet. The next thing that's probably worth describing is when these notes will be callable. So that's when you can refund them if interest rates continue to go down sometime in the future. And this is the way that we set it up from the beginning, but that will be able to take place in the year 2032 for the next maturity in 2033. So you're basically frozen out of callable debt between now and then. And the reason that that year is established is because that's one of the things that the market looks for to help keep your rate lower. You can imagine if you would turn around and resell rates again next year and refund us this year, the people who invest in your debt would want to earn more on that in a shorter amount of time, so then your rates would be higher. So we felt that the 9-year mark is kind of like the sweet spot to give you enough flexibility to have these rates for now, but then give the financial institutions enough certainty of what their returns are going to be. So we kind of have to find that sweet spot. Other than that, if you approve this tonight, we're estimating that the closing date will be on June 4th. So in a few weeks, we'll receive funds to be able to come back into your streets projects and move forward with parks and everything else here.
Thank you for that good news.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other questions?
Anyone? Great girl. No, everything sounds great. Thank you.
Sure.
Well, as great as it can sound.
All things considered.
Good. All right, so with this. We are looking for action on the resolution so that can move forward.
I'll make the motion to accept resolution 24-007.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion by Tom, second by Jared. Any questions, comments, discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And a huge thank you to Scott for all the work that you put in on this. It sounds like you came up with really great packet of information. You sold Washburn well.
Next item is discussion and action on sewer utility rate increase to be effective June 16th, 2024. You just have 3 of your packets. And thank you for making the trip, Josh.
He is going to state on this item as well, because next month you have utility loan initial resolutions, and this is going to be related to that.
So, of course, nobody likes to hear about rate increases, but they are a necessary part of staying solvent. So this one is, sewer utility rate increase for this year. There was a very detailed, explanation that went along with this. Thank you again for taking the time to go into that level of detail. Hopefully, if you had questions, you were able to get those answered already. The way that this is structured, we are looking for
15%.
is that the bottom line of what we were looking for, or was it 13.5, but the recommendation that came from personnel is that in the other packet? Correct. Okay. So, in your additional information with the amended agenda, you have, the finance and personnel committees notes and information of why, even though the minimum of what we were looking at was 13.5, really to cover the additional costs that we're going to be looking at, 15% is what that committee came up with as a recommendation for that percentage increase. And that's, again, the minimum that we need to really just stay on top and not fall behind in the costs that we have coming in. So, does anyone care to make a motion on this to start discussion?
I'll make that motion.
To approve as,
Yes,
as recommended by
as
the.
recommended by the personal finance.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Tom, second by Tracy. Questions?
Yeah, I have one that was brought up to me,
Uh-huh.
and I just thought I'm gonna throw this out, I'm gonna ask, because everybody does, I don't know, if everybody knows or not, Joel's leaving. And that's why we're doing the 15%, but was he offered a raise to stay? I had some people ask me that.
So I think that's,
I am not going to discuss individual
Okay.
personnel matters in an open meeting.
Right, that's fine. Because of what the cost to me to hire somebody to replace him with the licensing and schooling.
at this point, that was his decision. So regardless of what the details of the process were to get there, this is the place we're in,
Right.
that we do need to hire to replace him. And we went through that discussion with personnel and finance about the competition in that field right now. There are so many open positions, and the credentials are pretty
Extensive and high.
extensive. And not only the credentials themselves, but the time needed to work with those credentials before you're qualified to become an operator in charge also. So, yeah, we're gonna be looking at needing to replace someone at least at what that salary was. Tracy?
Yeah, well, just for a little more information from that meeting, yeah, is we reached 15% for sewage hike based on, an increase in annual salary or wages. It's an hourly, position that would be competitive for the water utility operator. So that's, and if you look, in 9, okay.
See, this relates
Yes,
to
it's-
tab 9, which is. that's where
Right,
I'm
so we
hoping
gotta
to
kind of go
track
back
a
and
little
forth
bit.
because,
Yeah.
that position, I think it was, do you have the,
It was 30.62 to 36 is
yeah,
the range.
which is competitive. And it's such an important position right now. I mean, Joel Ray will be consulting with Washburn so that we do have someone licensed to run the treatment plant, but, you know, for how long, we don't know. So, I mean, Scott, have you talked with the DNR and gotten a clear idea of, the certifications and status of that whole?
So when we get back down to tab 9, we will see the updated job description, which has the updated certifications that's required. So that should be a process, which should be good. I am then, we'll be discussing with Joel the arrangements of him assisting us so that we officially have a licensed operator yet for our plants until they're able to find a replacement.
So that 15% we're looking at is the 13.5% recommended plus the 1.5%.
To cover the,
That's where you got that 15%.
yep, to cover the
Cost.
The cost of a new higher waged
new higher wage for
plant's operator.
Okay.
So I will add on that, there is a water rate increase of 4.1% coming this fall. That's not enough, not soon enough to affect the issue with the utilities not having enough revenue to pay for the utility borrowings that are necessary. So we can't count that one for that purpose, but that can go towards the staffing issue as well. So as I outlined in the memo, the 8% is the absolute minimum that is necessary for the utility rate increase in order to get the utility loans and grants approved. The 13.5% is necessary simply to keep utility debt costs entirely within the utilities. And anything above that will be able to go towards other utility costs. This is a difficult situation with, everybody knows that the utility our sewer in particular, does not generate enough revenue to pay all of its bills, and water has been carrying it. Sewer has gotten a lot better over the years, but now with the projects that need to be done, we need to have more revenue for that debt. And we cannot afford to put all of that onto the general fund, because we know that in 2027, you are essentially going to have to go through all of this again. And if the utilities can't handle it now, they certainly will not be able to handle it then. And to combine with what will be necessary for the phase 2 project, which in other news, is likely going to increase one way or the other because of other concerns that we've been dealing with the DOT related to detour routes and so forth. And you have to put additional utility costs on there. With that additional debt, I believe that you are going to be very close to your debt capacity limits by the time you reach 2027, especially if there is a change in the economy or if the property values would decrease or something like that, which has happened in the past. So that it gets you up to a very uncomfortable range. So there are some options that you will have as far as tax increases for staffing issues that are a cause of the various events over the past couple months. So you're going to have a lot more homework and work on this. It's going to be needed in the future. But But this rate increase will, at 15%, will get you through for the time being, allow the project to continue, and give you a little bit of time to get it figured out. But expect you're going to have rate increases in coming years as well to keep up. So there, a lot has changed over the past couple months because, that is the position that we are now in.
Jen, go ahead.
Couple questions. The first one is, just from a talking standpoint, like how does our rates compare to some other cities in the local area? And then the second one is, so we've known for a long time about, like you said, that the utilities do not pay for themselves. And we've had some things with the sewer, like, I don't know, like maybe letting other people use our plant and bring things in, things like that, that have maybe helped to a little bit. But I guess my question is like, sorry for that, I can't get my microphone any closer because you have all that dogs. So I was like way over. So my other question is, and we don't have to do it now, but I'd really like to think about like how we can start setting ourselves up for a little bit better success. I understand that unless we get more people to hook up to water and sewer, it's very difficult for us to be able to pay for it. But is there anything else that we can do to start to think about this? Because I know we've talked about it a lot since I've been on council.
Let's start with the first question, which is how do we compare? And I think we talked a little bit about that at the meeting, and I'm going to turn this over to Max real quick because he's very familiar with a lot of the different municipal rates. Because he works with a lot of the different municipalities on the hand.
And I don't have exact specific dollar amounts, but Washburn is not, by far not the highest of the local municipalities. And I think that as far as, if you read the daily press or any news, you'll know that Ashland just had a huge increase. And that was a result of them for years, several years, not increasing rates at all. So your question of how to get in front of it, I don't know how many years it's been since Washburn's increased sewer rates. The water rates are set by the PSC increases, so I think we do what is allowed there. But recommendation is to do incremental increases to keep up with rising costs rather than to lock it in and wait 5 or 10 years and then have to do a massive increase. We're recommending a 15%, I think is recommended, where Ashland, I believe, just had approved a 30% increase. That was phased over a few years, but that was a result of not taking action for several years. And
then
yeah.
Doesn't that rate put us about?
We're about even with surrounding municipalities. It's still going to be lower than City of Bayfield. Theirs is considerably higher.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I didn't think 15% being incremental. That's okay.
It is maybe not incremental at this point, but it's smaller than other communities have done.
Okay, thank you.
Somewhat preemptive so that we don't get a big one anyway.
Appreciate it.
And then the second part of that was?
Oh, just in general of, there were some things that we've done for the sewer. I mean, is there anything else that we can start to work towards? And that could be maybe another agenda topic for a time. I just don't like to sit and be like, oh yeah, over and over again. We have much more capacity than what we're using. So is there anything else creatively that we can do? Even if it costs, that's the problem, even if it costs money initially. But just trying to think if there's anything else out there. It seems like such a shame.
So the biggest thing that we can do is have development within the city. Now, potential housing development with 40 units is certainly something that can drastically help utilities. That's the equivalent of 40 households. So that would be a boost. We have the capacity. We have looked at other things with septic hauling and so forth, but we did a study on that several years ago. But that is just not a financially feasible project for us to do. At least it wasn't at that time. I don't really believe that has changed. That requires essentially having a controlled facility not next to the treatment plant. It would have to be outside at a different location because you do not want to have septic haulers dump directly into your plant because it will disrupt the system.
Thanks.
And maybe we can continue a little bit of that during budget discussions as they come up.
Yeah, I mean, I think the development and that being in a location where we did extend water and sewer back in whatever year that was, so that's a good place. That is a good thing. Okay, thank you.
And then we'll also have the Lost Apostle, believe it or not, someday we'll be sitting right there this year, which should also help water and sewer as well, I would think, because that's a lot of beer to produce. And then a lot of people drinking a lot of beer. To help with the sewage portion. Okay, any other questions?
I just, the public may not be aware as to why the sewer and water plant don't.
Sure.
Isn't solvent, and I'm just wondering if we can explain to them why.
Sure, and along with that, I want to point out that Joel has done an extremely good job of reducing costs by taking some of the testing in-house. We used to have to send all of that out for testing, and he has taken that on and managed to do that in-house, which has saved us, whatever that money is, at least we're saving that amount of money. And then as far as the history of why we don't have that, can I turn that over to you since you were here before me? Thank you.
Are you talking tonight, or are you talking making a burial notes or something like that?
Like, why isn't our sewer and water system solvent?
Why doesn't it pay for itself?
Yeah, I just meant like, does he want to talk about that tonight, or is it some
Sure,
kind of
yeah,
public?
no, I think that.
I think-
Yeah.
yeah, just a brief
Listening when we're talking about it now.
So to be clear, water is solvent, water is regulated by the Public Service Commission and they require us to be solvent. Sewer is not. And the issue goes back to prior to my time, back in the early 2000s when the city had their previous water and sewer project and replaced many of the mains throughout the city. So we received grants and financing and so forth to help with that. And there were plans at the time to extend the mains to areas of the city that were not served. And the plant and facilities were constructed and loans were taken out to accommodate these areas. However, policy decisions were made that these areas were not included and added into the system and required to connect to the system. And so not as much revenue was generated as was originally anticipated. And so the remainder of the customers have the burden of paying that.
So in our sewage treatment plant is oversized, and is that a requirement of the Department of Natural Resources to have a system that's large enough to handle the capacity of the entire city? Or is that something we decided to do? We, meaning the prior council that made the decision, if that's something that we decided to do on our own, is to construct a facility large enough?
The facility was constructed large enough to accommodate growth, and that growth did not happen. So that plant was constructed in '95. I cannot speak to it was nowhere near the area at the time. I cannot speak to all of the discussions that occurred regarding the sizing of the plant. Generally, you're going to have some capacity over to accommodate growth, but not necessarily to the level that we had.
So the issue of everyone not being connected to the water utility was before even the last connections. And so it's just a problem that has been building and building over the years, and we just still have to live with unless we all of a sudden decide we want to make everyone in the city connect in who doesn't now, which is everybody up on the hill. is what I'm- There's, yeah, quite a few homes that aren't connected in. But I think all new homes, according to our zoning code, require or not.
Only within the required service area. Now, there were some locations that were, where mains were extended, and so when special assessments are paid off, when a property transfers, if a property is divided, or a septic system fails, if they front the existing mains, then at that time, they would be required to connect. And a few of those homes over the year, usually a handful each year that do, but it's a very slow process.
Anything else?
I just want to note that there isn't lines to connect to up there, right? If they weren't constructed in or assessed, it's not like people can just connect. It would be a project in order for them to connect in most areas, correct or not correct?
East of Washington Avenue, mains exist, and those are the homes that were specially assessed and are required to connect when those special assessments are paid off or when properties sell. West of Washington Avenue, above 12th or 8th, I can't remember which, 8th, there are no mains that exist.
Correct. Okay, just want to make sure I was right there.
Okay, anything else on this? Otherwise, we have a motion and a second to approve a 15% sewer utility rate increase to be effective June 16th. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, discussion and action on resolution 24-008, providing for the issuance, sale, and delivery of $1 million general obligation promissory notes to serve as interim financing for Bayfield Street project. It's tab 4 of your packet, and it is fairly simple, cut and dry. If anyone cares to make a motion on that.
I'll make a motion to accept.
I'll second it. Motion by Tom, second by Tracy. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next item is discussion and action on plan commission recommendation on conditional use permit application for temporary off-site construction yard in an industrial light industrial zone at 311 South First Avenue East, Bayfield County Highway Garage, Treeweiler Construction and Supply Company, Inc. Petitioner. Tab 5 of your packet. This is, as stated, a recommendation from the Plan Commission. Does anyone care to make a motion to get our discussion going?
I'll make a motion to get the discussion going.
To approve?
To approve, yes.
Okay.
I'll second.
Motion by Tom, second by Jared to approve the conditional use permit application. Questions? This was thoroughly looked at and
It seems pretty strict.
yeah, and it was not their first choice, but it does need to occur if we're going to get this project done on time. So there didn't seem to be any major concerns. There's really very little runoff, protection that needs to be put up. Even the site is county highway property, which already is doing a lot of these things. There's no runoff that's going directly into the lake. They capture it. So we looked at all of that in detail. So if there are no questions, I will call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Keep up the good work, you guys.
Thank you.
Next item, discussion and action on certified survey map approval for tax ID 38880 at 1000 East Superior Avenue. Noah and Denise Michelson petitioners. This is tab 6 of your packet. Okay. Does anyone care to make a motion on this? In order to start discussion.
Make a motion.
Second.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve contingent upon the transfer of the property and demolition permit.
Thank you. And a second by Tom. Okay, questions on this? I had one, I just was having trouble figuring out the map and where that cabin was that's gonna come down, so. I don't- That, oh, okay. So then there would be no issue, that's correct, okay.
Yeah, it makes it simple.
Yeah, that makes it much simpler, okay. Any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I don't know if they're here tonight.
She's not. Denise, no.
All right, thank you, Denise. Next item, discussion and action on request for second driveway access for tax ID 36603 at 39 East Shadow Drive, Douglas Smith petitioner. That's tab 7 of your packet. And, so just to clarify, is this something that normally would have gone to planning commission, but then we change it so it doesn't have to, and it just comes to council? Or is it a timing thing, that it's just coming to council, or did it already go to planning commission?
Ordinance requires that driveway permits go to council. They don't go to
That's
planning commission. We haven't had time to address that ordinance.
Okay,
Because that's
it's odd, but
agreed,
so be it,
whatever.
here we are.
I'll make a motion to approve
Okay,
the second driveway.
I'll second that.
so we have a motion by Tracy and a second by Tom to approve. Any questions, comments, or discussion? Jen?
Jen. Everyone knows Jen. All right, we'll just say Jen is the second driveway kind of like questionnaire. I always look at these to like make sure that they're a necessity versus just a want, because we don't want everyone to have a second driveway. Because second driveways, we've talked about this, right? Stormwater runoff, safety issues, different things like that. And we keep approving them, which it is what it is. My question, I guess, goes more to when someone like this comes in for a building permit, do we at that time maybe address like, hey, if you kicked it back on your property some, you could extend connect your other driveway. Like, are we, so that, I don't think it's the folks who come in, I think maybe we just, I don't know, Scott, can you help me with that a little bit? Because like in this situation, I feel like there probably could have been room to connect over, but maybe not. So,
I hear it
Here,
wiggling from
here.
here.
I'm sorry, Jerry, that I question second driveways, but I feel like we have it on the books for a reason, and we approve quite a few of them. And I just kind of want to have a discussion on being more proactive with people who submit.
Okay, so,
And what are some of the other considerations, like how
Yeah,
close are
so-
the neighbors?
Yes.
so when they come in, for a request for a second driveway, what it is the ordinance have a certain, set of guidelines for installing a second driveway. And so I check them out to make sure that the offsets are where they need to be, locations, culvert sizing, it's not gonna interfere. I do my due diligence that way, and I do check with the neighbors. And, for the most part, I haven't ran into anybody who's really had an issue. Now, I do know that this is like the third one we've done since I've been here. The last time we did it, they're like, well, because we always do it, we're gonna change the ordinance that would just go through the Director of Public Works and City Administrator as far as issuing these. I think that in the past, yes, you have issued them, but you've always issued them under presumption that they have met the guidelines that are set forth in that ordinance to approve them. So to deny one, based on whether they need it or not, or whether it's feasible, is really not something that I look at. I look at the guidelines that were set forth by the ordinance and past history. So,
Okay, thanks for the clarification.
anything else?
Anyone else?
No one's?
I thought here a couple of years ago or so, maybe not that long ago, that, we did one and we're talking about taking precedence and doing it.
Yeah, that's where we were talked about changing the ordinance to take it off council and just, as long as it met the criteria of the guidelines set in the ordinance, that they would just automatically approve. Now, if they didn't meet those guidelines, that's where I believe we have to go to council for approval.
Sure, but the precedence has been set that if it does meet those guidelines,
Yes.
then it has been approved.
But also the ordinance talks about how we should have one that serves, like, right here, right? The number of driveways to serve individual properties fronting on a street shall be one,
Unless,
except where deemed necessary.
he's putting up.
So there's my necessary versus one.
So I guess everybody's definition of necessary is different. You know, I mean, if there was a structure that was close by, you know, that would be feasibly fit. But with like Mr. Smith here, he says a very large lot, he's putting a second outbuilding in.
Which is a legal structure.
Yes, it's a legal structure, which is considerably farther away from his other buildings. So, I don't see where, you know.
The argument could be made that it's a need because now that the building's there, then you need to access the
Yeah,
building.
it's a very
But if
practical.
you were proactive in the design when they brought it in, you would determine at that point if it was a need, because the building could be pushed back and hooked into another driveway. I mean,
Well,
yeah.
I understand where you're coming from, and this is a good way of looking at it too. So if you were to commute those two driveways into one, he was putting the building where he's proposing, and he was gonna add his driveway from there to the shed, you would almost be doubling his
The length of
impervious
the
surface.
So that's the kind of information.
So this would be,
Yeah.
I would agree, this is about the least amount of impact for the situation we're looking at that is feasible.
Great.
Jen, did you look at the map and see the two driveways?
Yes.
It's the least impact.
Yeah, and if it's the least impact, those are the kind of discussions, you know, just so that other people know, like, it's, when it's necessary, right? So, thanks for the conversation, I appreciate
Absolutely,
it. Right?
and I just want to remind everyone, if you could just look to be acknowledged before cross conversation, that'd be great, thanks.
Gotcha.
All right,
Yep.
any other questions?
Appreciate it.
Okay, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thanks, Jerry.
You're welcome. Go for it.
Thank you.
Well, wait for your permit, but we'll be in contact. Okay. All right, moving on. Discussion and action on disposal of ambulance and ambulance equipment in tab 8 of your packet. This sounds like a very good solution. If anyone cares to make a motion,
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
I've got a motion by Jared and Tom got in there first with a second. So, any questions on this? Good work on, matching up with the community there. And all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, discussion and action on personnel committee recommendation on emergency medical responder pay rates and personnel policy changes for EMR and EMT incentives. This is tab 9 of your packet, plus additional information
In the other packet.
And I am going to pause us for one moment because I was out of town and did not get a chance to read the letter, which I would like to do now. After I find it again.
Can you tell us where the letter?
Yeah, I found it. It's right here a minute ago, but what, like, after
It's
what?
right after the Ashland Fire Department
Oh, yeah.
invoice.
There it is. So the Ashland Fire Department looks like this, with that logo on it, and then it's right after that, towards the front. It's, maybe 10 pages in.
4 pages at the top.
Oh, 10 minutes, I missed that one. Yep, yep.
It's within that section of the one.
Thank you. Let me go. One more.
And there. Thank you for the very detailed letter, very much appreciated. I think that is going to help us a lot with the discussion. Has everyone had a chance?
Go ahead.
Okay.
We can take turns.
Tracy, are you ready for a motion? I can make a motion and then. Sure. I'd like to make a motion to increase the pay rate in the EMT and EMR as recommended by the Personnel Finance Committee listed there, and to table the incentive till, because of this letter that has been submitted, I do believe that it needs to be, considered or reviewed by the labor attorney. If, because we did approve at the Personnel Finance Committee, we did approve the incentive package that was discussed, and it was reviewed by the labor attorney and found to be a fair labor practice. And this letter that was submitted, is questionable.
Would that be a table or a postpone? That part of the discussion.
I think that would be a postpone.
Postpone. Okay, I'll change it then.
Yes.
Postpone it till reviewed by the labor. Okay, so the motion is to approve the pay, but postpone the decision on the bonus. Is there a second to
I'll
that
second
motion?
that.
Okay. So, motion by Tracy, second by Tom.
Can we discuss that?
Yes,
No?
yes.
Excuse me.
Would you like to go ahead, Darren? You have something?
I do.
Go ahead.
I'd also like to look at the $3, the on-call rates. And I have a hard time, I know we discussed it earlier about it's just not allowed by, due to the fact that it's.
You mean for the employees or?
For the employees, just because my work, I know of other workers that are getting these on-call or standby hours that don't affect their base pay. So like, I'd like to look
Who wants
at
to
that a
answer
little
that
bit
one?
more.
I can answer that, and I think that that's something that within the scope of what was recommended, we postpone until we get a more firm opinion on that. And I'm not a labor specialist, but I do quite a bit of wage and hour work. With the municipality having that, it just can't have that additional on-call pay that would potentially put those employees either below the minimum wage or below the time and a half if they're on call for more than 40 hours. So that's where that needs to come into consideration with the city.
And
that's I think what, falling within the scope of what was recommended to get an opinion on.
And I'll add that all of my experience with different agencies and groups are state and federal organizations that pay standby pay to their hourly and salary employees.
And it depends a lot on, and the consideration to be made is whether this standby time is outside of their normal work hours or within their normal work hours. Because this policy did address that to some extent, but maybe a little more clarification for what that amount would be.
I have a quick question, and this might be for Ted, or maybe the EMR, the folks who just went through the EMR training. What is the difference in the education hours, just for background, between the EMT and the EMR training? If you don't mind giving me an idea of that.
Currently, the EMR training is an 80-hour class, 80 hour. And the EMT training, I believe, is 120.
Okay, thank you. Just for another piece of information there as we're going to further this discussion at some point. Here.
I had one more before I ran away. Were you able to find out roughly how many shifts were like uncovered?
For the month of April, it was 34%. I don't remember the number, but it was 34.
Is that like a general, I guess you can't generalize too much, but I guess I'm looking for on an annual basis, is that typically what you see is about 34%?
No, that's actually much lower than, it's gone down each month, so this year, and also it has been lower than the same month in the previous year.
And is that by and large because we have full-time staff now that are filling a lot of those shifts?
That is a big piece.
And now that we've added the third in and spread everyone out a little bit, that has continued to help a lot.
Correct.
But it's the nights and
Nights
weekends.
and still a bit of the weekends, but a lot of the nights.
So then that number that you just mentioned, is that for people who haven't signed up to cover a shift or shifts that have gone unanswered?
Shifts where nobody signed up.
Okay.
Not where things went on.
So sometimes, even though no one has signed up, someone will answer the call when they hear.
Correct.
Okay. So just to clarify that, sometimes people just don't sign up, but they're still listening and they'll still go if they need to.
Thank you.
But then that doesn't count towards their shifts covered to be active? Or does it once they go on a call?
No, it does not.
Okay,
Right, so the shifts covered, the hours covered per year to be considered active only includes hours that they are actually signed up on the schedule.
okay. What if they decide that day to sign up for that night? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm probably gonna do that tonight.
Okay, great, thank you. Much appreciated. Anyone else with questions on the motion as presented? Okay, seeing none, all in favor
Aye.
of the motion that was, I just want to recap what the motion was to approve, yes, please.
So what it was to approve the recommended pay rate for EMT and EMR as stated, and to postpone
The bonus.
The personnel
personnel
policy
incentive
and the
policy
policy changes and
until a
incentives.
labor attorney has reviewed the recommendation by,
Okay, the letter,
all
right,
with further,
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And I don't know, I think we want to keep this on the front burner because I think this is going to be relevant very quickly now that the class has graduated, I believe. The EMR training is complete, correct? And the sense I have is that folks want to make sure that this is fair to everyone, so just know that going forward. Okay. Next item is discussion and action on personnel committee recommendation on city administrator recruitment assistance, consideration of setting a council work session. Tab 10 of your packet. Oh, no.
It's tab 9.
Or is that the additional
It's further
information?
information.
It's the additional information.
It's the number, it's after the number 2 in the additional packet.
Which is after the number.
Yes. So find tab 9.
Okay.
And then from there, there's a 1, 2, and 3.
Ooh.
Really tapping my brains.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay, so, would anyone care to make a motion on the personnel committee recommendation of the city administrator recruiting assistance and consideration of setting a council work session?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
So your motion is to approve the personnel committee's recommendation?
Correct.
That was a motion by Aaron, second by Tom. Questions?
I have an update on this item. Recommendation was to go forward with using PAA for this recruitment process. And in the initial information that we got, they said that they could start August 1st on this process. After the personnel committee meeting, they wanted me to clarify what that meant. I did confirm that we don't need to make that decision at this meeting. If we make that final commitment or agree to the contract, whatever it may be, at the June council meeting, that's still sufficient time to start as of August 1st for that search.
And just a quick clarifying question. I know there was some discussion about listing the position in the meanwhile, or if they didn't approve at the June meeting. Do we need to just go one step at a time and?
Yes, well, my understanding is we're recommended to approve this contract. If that is accepted, then what I'll do is have a proposed actual formal contract for approval at the June meeting. So we can review the terms of that contract. If there is any interim work or recommendations or requests to do with a direct search for potential candidates, we can discuss that as a separate item.
Okay.
So with clarification, should we vote on this
Yes.
right now?
Yeah.
And then,
Unless there are any other questions.
This
Go ahead,
is
Jerry.
the firm that we used formerly, their last time to hire.
No, this is the firm, same firm that Ashland County has used and Tunnel Point used recently for the placement of their administrators. I've worked with them for both of those municipalities and have had very positive interactions with them.
We did our own internal process for the public works, correct?
Correct, we've never used it for department head positions. It was not used, when I was hired, they did it in their own process, however, they were used previously.
That was it. Previous.
And also, one of the considerations was the fact that we have a department head position that we need to list immediately, as well as this highway project going on right now. And so it would be a great help to have a service like this. But I think the Personnel and Finance Committee didn't feel it was necessary to go with one of those other firms for various reasons. So, Jen?
Can you tell me, yeah, I mean, I read through it, I think a lot of the stuff that they have makes sense, and the price is not horrible. So it,
Not that horrible.
I mean, it's not, and I mean, if they have like a lot of services that they see what they can help us out with, and they have a good success rate, so, I'm in favor, for sure. Can you tell me a little bit about what the, internal working, like what was the gist of why we wanted to have a council? What was the other part of the motion?
Oh, for this one?
Yeah,
This one I don't, oh, for the council work session.
yeah, what is,
Consideration of setting a council work session.
yeah, can you
That's
tell
right.
me a little bit?
So that
more about-
wasn't a part of the motion at this time.
No, the motion was just to go with,
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
And so, yeah, unless someone makes a separate motion to have that for some reason, which I don't think we would need if we're going with the firm, I think we're,
Thank you for the
Yeah.
clarification. I was confused what we were gonna do with
I know,
this.
there's a lot here.
Not that I don't wanna meet up and brainstorm best ways to get people on board, but didn't know what that was. Thanks.
Anyone else? Seeing no other questions, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you for all the work.
Yes.
Really nice.
Personnel finance has a little extra work coming your way.
Yeah.
And thank you, Max, you're gonna get that contract
Yeah, we'll have it, the draft contract by June.
for the June meeting. Great, awesome. Okay, next item, discussion and action on water and sewer operator in charge, job description and pay scale range. So this was part of the amendment to the agenda and is tab, I don't know.
It's November 3rd, after that big pile of recruitment.
After the.
That's the last few pages of that pile.
Gotcha. Thank you.
So, job description, water and sewer operator in charge. What are the highlighted words in this description? New or amended?
Correct.
Taking and monitoring water meters. Taking readings from, is that what that means? Taking and monitoring water meters,
Yes.
not actually taking the water meters.
Well, we do that as well.
Okay.
That can be clarified, taking readings.
That would be great. I think that would be helpful. So some additional requirements are listed there under the qualifications. Is that so that they can do their own testing in-house?
That is part of it. So the last time we had advertised this position, we had what were the 2015 DNR requirements for the position. So this has been updated to what is what the DNR now requires. They're always changing things. So with it, the one new certification is laboratory, since we do a lot of our own laboratory work now as well. So that is an additional subclass that they have to pass.
One other consideration that personnel and finance I know discussed was that you can't just require the receipt of the certification. You also have to make sure that the person has worked with that certification long enough to be able to be an operator in charge. So there's a little bit further qualification that goes along with the operator in charge position. Hence, its salary or hourly wage being at the higher end of the hourly positions. It's a very, very technical position with lots of certifications and time on the job required.
I have a question for Scott.
Go ahead.
So Scott, on the position salary schedule for the I got public works. Oh, it's on the hourly, that's right. Okay, there we go. I wasn't getting it, thank you. And that's based on what we talked about with the pay range.
The salary schedule is in your packet that was provided as the current without that recommended.
Oh, it's without, okay,
So the recommended
okay.
range is 30
.62.
to 36.
36, yeah, I just, yeah.
So it's going from 31.38 to 36?
Well, so
No, it was
range,
30.62, I thought
Right.
that's what we.
Yeah.
30.62 is the low end, so
The low
that's
end.
the step B.
That's step B.
Um,
Step C
oh.
would be the
36.
The 30.62 would be the base.
That would become the base. And that's gonna depend a lot on that person's experience
In their
and
qualifications.
their qualifications.
Right.
The more experience.
But we, I think I say we, but the committee, I'm not on the committee, sounded like, wanted to at least have a wide enough range there where we're gonna get some candidates, because it is such a competitive, arena right now.
So I want to clarify this. So the 30.62 to the 36, whatever number is decided based on the applicants will become the base. And then we will have to calculate the steps. Right. Because the steps go into effect in 2-year increments thereafter.
But that's automatic that it becomes the base?
Correct.
Okay, questions, more questions? So that's the job description and the proposed pay scale that we're looking at.
I guess my only question is I think something you mentioned earlier was the fact that, so we're doing this for this one position, and then we still have an issue, right, over time on other positions that are like lower, right? And so this is just kind of plugging one hole. Am I correct in that assumption?
Tracy?
I'm just gonna comment, is this is a really important position.
Yep.
And in order for us to have water, we need to have this person. And we need to recruit and be competitive in our recruiting process. And this position requires a lot of certification. you know, it's not like apples to apples
Well, and
comparing them.
and here's,
It's huge.
here's the example that we looked at too. If a person comes in that still needs more time on the job before they're able to be on their own as operator in charge, then we have to negotiate a contract with someone else to be our operator in charge, able to sign off on things, so that basically you're adding that much more money to your budget, even if it's not technically in the salary of that person.
Right.
Yet, so,
Right.
yes, the others are gonna have to get looked at as
And
part of our.
I'm in favor, I'm just saying that like starts to get things a little out of whack with the other positions. That's
Well,
all.
I get it, I
Yeah,
get
that's
what
all
you're
I'm
saying.
saying. But it's, in every time we lose somebody, we have the same
Right.
conversation. you
Although
know?
we were able to make some adjustments just in the structure of the public works department that kind of helped with that a little bit, so.
Yeah.
Yes, we do have to kind of look at the bigger picture then of everyone, once this is done, looking at next year's budget year, I'm sure.
Okay, thanks.
Anyone else? Seeing none, yeah, one more?
One more thing, one of the other things we've been talking about before was other incentives, things that we can do better, like, you know, time off, leave, you know, different ways to make this more appealing. So I guess, was there any discussion about that? Because that is one thing, like, people, yes, they love a salary, but I work for the federal government because I like my time off and my sick leave and things like that, and I know that that's like the full package. And so I guess, was there any discussion, even with the city administrator position coming up? I'd like to see us try to be more creative in that avenue, because that gives, and just in general, when we're looking at all of our positions, I think that helps us keep people, right? It's those kind of things, without maybe raising salaries, but more.
Well, there was some discussion about that, and I can't remember exactly what we can and can't do with that, but we did talk about, you know, when the public works position, director position became available, you don't want to take someone who's coming over at a higher level and then they're having to give up, you know, where they come over with 5 weeks of vacation and we're only offering 2 to start. So yes, there does need to be some of that discussion and negotiation. Tracy?
Just to remind you that it's an hourly position. That's right. It's not a salaried position, and so you have to follow the rules for hourly. So if it were salaried, there would be more room to be flexible.
And that is a challenge with this.
Those are, it's a legal issue. It's a legal issue. It's a legal issue.
That time off is the city's policy.
It's a policy.
It's not a legal issue,
I'm
it's a
sorry.
policy issue.
Policy issue. But we discussed that.
So that is something that the city could discuss and could change, but
In future, I'm just, that to me, when we're talking, this whole piece that we're talking about is about recruitment and getting people in and then getting people to stay and not losing them to other places. And I think that we do have an opportunity, but just a policy that we can be more generous and do different things. That's all.
Agreed. Did you have something you wanted to respond?
Other than the policy applies to the hourly positions for fairness and equity concerns. There has been flexibility when we have salary positions, but to make this position a salary position, it would have to be given more responsibility that would meet the legal test for it to be a management position. At this time, it is not.
But at some point, you could look at the policy, not just for this position, but for everybody. Because like this memo says, we are losing people to other places.
And we know of others that will be coming in the near future, so.
Right.
Okay, anyone else?
Do we have people, do we have a first and second on this?
We do. It was, I wrote it down somewhere.
I must have missed that.
It was, who was it?
I don't remember.
Wait. I had Darren and Tom on the last
The last
one. Oh, did we have a motion? I don't think there's a motion. Maybe
I'll
there's
make
a
a motion.
Okay, to approve the job description with that one little edit.
Yep.
And the pay scale
That's
range
good
of
range.
3062 to 36.
Correct.
Okay, motion by Jen, thank you.
I'll second it.
Second by Tracy. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. And next item, discussion and action on renewal of city attorney contract. That is tab 10 of your packet. My only question is on the length of term on this. Does everyone agree on the reduction to 1 year, or do we want to try to make it 2? So we have some consistency through this next bumpy period.
I think it should be 2 years.
I'm fine with the 2. I just didn't know with the changeover, if new administrator or anyone else would want to reconsider it.
Sure. I mean, I guess it's a good question to ask, but Tom, your motion would be to approve with a 2-year contract?
Correct.
A second.
Okay. So a motion by Tom, second by Jen, and yes, you're open to that?
Yes.
Okay.
That's fine.
Any other questions?
No, thank you, Matt.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. Good job, you do.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item, discussion and action on police policy for usage of time system, tab 11. That looks pretty straightforward, like that will get us up to speed and in,
Make a motion to accept policy 1-4-15.
Second.
motion by Jen, second by Dave. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, discussion and action on lease amendments with Bayfield County for the Hillside Communications Tower on Woodland Ave. That's tab 12 of your packet. I don't know if we want a motion before,
So
or
you can do a motion and I can kind of.
okay. If you want to introduce it first, that would be great.
Yeah, so this is just the cell tower, lease that the county has, and there are other private carriers on that. When this initially came up, this was for my time here, but I was well aware of what was happening. There were a bunch of concerns because this is one of the first of the types of towers in the area. A lot of excess requirements, I would say, put into this lease. This is kind of just cleaning up to make it more efficient. There have been several legislative enactments that actually make some of the things that were initially put into this lease invalid. You can't require that type of thing on some of these towers. So this is just a proposal to make this in line with standard operations of these towers and these leases.
The only question I have before we make a motion, if I could, is number 7, under F7, Bayfield County shall pay $5,000 per year, but it doesn't say to whom.
To the city.
I think that should be clarified.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions?
I just wanted to know if that was new, or we have been paid the
No, we have not
We
been.
have not been.
That is, and that is not,
It just was, I thought that was.
yes, that'll be an additional revenue for the city.
We'll take it. Is that a reasonable amount as far as you've seen with other contracts?
Yeah, I think that is, and honestly, it helps, maybe not services for the city itself, but just outside of the city, where there is cell coverage bills. This does help for the general community there.
So.
And AT&T, you come in into Washburn, you lose.
Yep.
My wife loses all the time.
Okay, is there a motion on this item?
I'll make a motion to accept as is.
I'll second that.
With the addition of the clarification of to whom the payment goes?
Yes.
And we talked to Bayfield County about this?
I have
Yeah.
had ongoing communications with them.
I
So-
recognize Mark's writing, so
Yes.
I know.
He's looked at, okay.
Yes, these are proposed by Baker County Administrator and Baker County Attorney. The edits.
Okay, any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, let's look over the agenda. Okay, next item is discussion and action on special event request for Brownstone Block Party to have relaxation of open container from July 26th to July 28th along a portion of Bayfield Street and on July, and the Omaha property on July 28th, and the closure of South Fourth Avenue West from Bayfield Street to the alley at 3:00 PM until Patsy's close on July 26th and 27th, and until 5 PM on July 28th. Washburn Chamber petitioner. Yes, Mayor.
And just pursuant to ordinance 2-5-4 sub B, and to put in the minutes, I do want to disclose the conflict of interest for myself here, because my wife made a public comment. So specifically relating to any consideration about the relaxation of open container on Bayfield Street, I'd recuse from any discussion on that. If there are legal questions, I have my law partner on standby to answer those.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
So do we need to start with a motion in order to discuss technically, I guess? I want to look at, let's look at the tab first for the details of the, of where it specifies on, Bayfield Street.
Avenue West
I
to
had
Central
written-
Avenue.
Yeah, I had written down a question, alternate option, question mark. And so I guess that would be one alternate option, as proposed in the public comment, is to at least allow it, or to allow it on part that isn't under construction, which makes sense at face value at least. And then I also had another question written down, is there access to Artists on the Byway from the alley, John?
We have access through the alley, period. It doesn't matter.
Doesn't bother you if that Fourth Avenue is closed for that period of time?
Yeah, let's do it.
Thank you. Okay, so is there a motion we want to make before we get into any discussion? Tracy?
I'll recommend, to allow open carry on non-construction, areas of Bayfield Street. And then include all of the other, I mean, that would be number one, that would be different on the recommendations.
And I'm not sure if that could be vague enough to allow for any areas that are able to be used, that are technically still under construction, but maybe would be paid for them.
About phase two, phase two. I mean, what would be
You're
clear?
saying the phase two section in
Yes,
particular?
in particular,
Okay.
that's not under construction.
Hold on one sec until the,
If you want it, my recommendation would be to be more specific, something like if the original request was Central Avenue to First Avenue, to allow it between Central Avenue and First Avenue West.
first, second, is this second here?
Or Second Avenue West.
Detour goes down on First Avenue.
But there's no reason not to allow it on this block if it's not under construction, right? Or they're just not businesses that serve alcohol there, so we don't have to do that, or?
I feel like that needs to be petitioned for and maybe looked at by the police chief if we're gonna change
Sure.
where we're opening it. I think it is smart to deny where it is actually in construction, but for us to decide, okay, now we're gonna open it up when it hasn't been asked of us, maybe, I'm not sure.
So it was only asking for between 10th Avenue West and Central Avenue,
which is all the road construction.
but plus all the way down to Central Ave.
That is the typical request.
And then is the letter from the chief in here?
There's no letter from.
Yeah,
I don't
there's
see
no
it.
letter.
There's no
I saw,
letter.
I thought I saw the letter somewhere, but.
Really? I think it was for someone else.
I don't know that there's a letter from the chief on this particular
No.
part of it.
I can see First Avenue West to Legion Park, because they're gonna be using Legion Park.
Yeah, I'm all for it, but I just don't.
So that's to
no, I just don't
Central
know.
Ave then, right? Or no,
That's other side of Central Avenue.
that's first?
First. That's first.
Okay.
Part of the Forest Service, that's first.
First Avenue, so from First Avenue East to First
First
Avenue
Avenue
West is what?
That would
Yeah.
be,
Yeah.
I mean, you're the one making the motion, so I'll ask.
I know, I don't know my streets well enough to, I mean,
That would-
I
Central
was,
is the
here, look behind, right, yes, I know Central, yeah. Just so it includes non-constructive construction.
So it would be fine to go to Central is what you're saying, which was the request,
First Avenue
and
West.
it's not under construction.
We would be moving the detour down. We would be detouring the detour down to First Avenue West.
No, open, just open
So we're not closed.
here, open
So we're not
container.
closed. We're not closed.
We're just talking.
No, just the open container right now.
You have time if you wish to postpone this till next month.
Oh,
Well,
And
we're in the middle of a motion, let's finish that before we take any more comments or discussion. So, do you want to continue with the motion to allow it in a certain area? Or do you want to withdraw your motion?
I'm fine with allowing it in the non-construction zone that you.
So the area that they've asked for that's not under construction,
Correct.
is that clear enough?
Well, no, but who determined the streets? I'm sorry, I just can't do that.
I think I did.
You did, Scott.
yeah,
Central, so they were requesting Central, and I would go to,
there, Central, and then,
with the detour, when the construction zone ends at Second, even though the detour is at First,
West,
west.
so second, it would be second west to central. Technically,
And
if you're approving everything that's not under construction that they have asked for.
it still doesn't include Legion Park.
Yeah, that's,
So typically, when these requests have come in, it was the blocks listed there, but the main activity occurred at Wickdale.
right.
Okay.
This year, and what Melissa has in the memo, is Legion Park,
Mhm.
but that is after Central Avenue.
That would be First Avenue West
But there,
to First Avenue East.
That's the section that's
Yeah,
not
right.
under construction, that's
Right.
gonna be utilized for a block party.
it says exclusive use of Legion Park on July 27th and the Omaha property on July 28th. Does that mean open container or does that mean exclusive use? To me, I just read exclusive use. I didn't
That would
read
be
it.
open container, because when downtown's open, there's people walking all over the place with open containers.
So is that both open container and exclusive use of Legion Park? So it's not,
Maybe we should go back to Melissa.
Yeah.
to get that clarified.
Can I withdraw?
Yeah.
And I'll make another motion
Okay,
to postpone this
with clarification.
with clarification, and I think your recommendation of review from the city police
And go back to the chief.
and go back.
To get clarification, okay. So the motion is to postpone until we can get further clarification and review of the chief. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Tracy, second by Jen. Any other questions, comments, discussion? Yes.
Basically, I don't like picking up beer bottles and beer cans. Do we have provisions for where all that's going?
That is a good question and could be a condition upon which the
the request is granted, that there be a chamber-sponsored cleanup after the fact, just like they do after events in other places.
Public Works used to do that.
Well, just because they have to, because
Yeah,
but
right.
if council wants to require that the requesting entity includes a cleanup as part of the use, that I think is reasonable. And did someone, Darren?
I was gonna say, along with the contacting, the chamber, I think we should also contact law enforcement.
Yeah, that's part of it, I did, yeah,
Just
with the
to
review
see
from
how-
the chief, yep.
I think in the meantime, we should all walk down these 4 blocks and think about space for, think about opening up.
We could do a practice run
Maybe not right now.
with some open containers, okay.
Let's do that.
Okay. So then we're gonna postpone, or all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So hang tight on that one. Then discussion and action on request to utilize Omaha Street property for the Sound Check Music Festival, May 24th through 26th, Stage North Groundlings petitioner.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Jared, second by Tom to approve. Any questions, comments, discussion? Thank you for doing the Sound Check Music Festival. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. That did not include open container? Just clarify. It's part.
Very fun.
No, we don't have any interest.
Okay, thank you. Did you have a comment?
I requested that the council consider if the future parking requests for the Omaha property, is that something that you want to continue to approve?
For ongoing parking?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
It would be something that would be fairly handy.
Yes.
So you want to approve those requests as they come in?
The other option being just an
Blanket.
administrative approval.
Correct.
Is that what I'm?
Correct.
Yeah, so it doesn't have to come to council.
Oh, so wait, is that something that we could, is that in here? We vote on that?
Yeah. Say that.
We just use it for ongoing parking throughout construction.
I think that would be simple enough, yes.
We need to make a
We
motion.
got a can we do a consensus on that? Consensus that we want to see ongoing utilization of the Omaha property for parking and or other activities during construction?
Yes.
Yes.
Everyone's nodding, yes, there's a consensus that we would like administrative approval of those things. Thank you. Then, discussion and action on authorization of notice of all those things listed that I'm not gonna read. So it's the authorization of notice that it's not approving the licenses.
Correct,
It's
this is
approving
just
the
approving
notice.
the notice and the process of the licensing.
Okay, is there a motion?
And I would like to add some stuff after that.
After the motion?
Sure.
Anyone?
So moved.
Second.
So motion by Tom to authorize the notice and process by Tom, second by Jared. Tony?
So just adding on to it, as you were listening, as you're looking at the different agencies are here for new, so these are new alcohol licenses. The first one listed, Go Ship Gallery, they currently have a beer license, which they'll be, for the next tab for renewals, the state changed their alcohol laws. So before May 1st, you needed to be a restaurant to receive a wine license. They have now changed that. So Go Ship, they're applying for a wine license as well for their gallery.
As a gallery now can apply.
Yes, so that's why they're on both of them. I mean, again, David Sneed, so he's opening another potential property here. Where the old resource store was, same thing, they're applying for a Class B and a Class C license because they are now eligible for a Class C license. And then the last one identified is this Mudbrook LLC. So Deleuze Pizzeria, I guess, is for sale and potentially has sold. This is the, I guess, the person purchasing it. Their closing date is not until the 16th. And because things can change, Deleuze is still listed as a renewal. But this would be the new owner. So assuming that that sale takes place, then we'll go through the notification process for that license. We can also, because last year we changed or included in our ordinance doing provisional licenses. So for him to stay in operation and to sell beer and wine, I can issue him a provisional license until the new license actually comes through.
Great.
So that's the plan going that way. Again, assuming there's no concerns with the sale of it. And then after you get through the next one with the renewals, I'm going to hold off slightly before I send the notice to papers, because assuming the sale does go through, I can take Deleuze off of the renewal list.
Gotcha, excellent. Because that's only a few days away.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you for that. Any other questions, comments, discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And next, Mr. LaPlante, he was getting trained in and making my pizza. Very nice gentleman. Nice to see that transition, so they stick around with that delicious wood-fired pizza. Okay, the discussion and action on notice of annual alcohol license renewals.
And the one thing I will add there, that along with the state changing their licensing, they also changed their application forms. So last June, they changed the renewal forms. So in March, I sent all of our renewals, the renewal application, and then they came out with a new one after that. So I had to contact everybody that I sent these to and ask them if they would fill out the new form.
So I did notice some inconsistencies with the filling out of the forms. So you're gonna make sure that those are filled out fully and properly before.
Yeah, and this time it included a lot more information than just the 1-2-page renewal form. So I have all information and agent forms and everything again. So it was just a long process.
It was a little confusing that the signatory did not have to be the same person listed here, or
where?
For the, oh, that's for LLC applicants only. Okay, that's why. Whew. Yeah, there was a lot there.
And
but assuming all the applications will be filled out.
Yeah, and then within that supplement packet that I gave you is also Dollar General's application, because again, it's just a process of getting the new forms back from you. So thank you.
I noticed that in particular, a few of them had not checked the box about their training, server training requirement being completed. So we just need to make sure that that has been done.
And that's some new information from the past applications.
Okay, so is there a motion on this?
I'll make a motion to accept the notice of applications for renewal of the alcoholic beverages license as indicated.
Okay. That was a motion by Tracy, second by Dave. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And we do not have a closed session. And therefore, our business is complete and we are adjourned. Thank you.